Listeners, I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us today, Miss Aimee. She is a money coach, and I can't wait to hear more about what she does. Aimee, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, Robin. How are you?
I am doing very well, but I'm definitely interested in hearing more about this money confidence coach. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I've been in the personal finance industry now for over 10 years, 11 coming up on 12. We're at the end of the year when we're recording this. And when I started out, I kind of fell into personal finance. There was a lot of things that happened along the way. We can go back even things just like always felt like they were a struggle. Even like remembering growing up and working on math, and like math came easy to my brother, but not to me. And I just remember sitting there like crying, like it's not fair. Like I have to work so hard and it just comes so dang easy to him. And
Yeah.
I made decent grades, but like I had to work for it and he didn't. Now, of course, that
Okay.
caught up with him later, but in the moment, it was a struggle, and I was carrying that with me throughout a lot of things. I was in insurance working in 9 to 5. I was working had a network marketing company that I was a part of that we were doing financial literacy, and I was learning a lot of that, like, byproduct. We applied the principles after my husband, we were met, got married, we started our own trucking business, and I was pregnant with my second. We
Huh?
decided it was time that, like, I could leave my job, be home full time, all the things. And 3 days later, we had a business deal go bad.
Hmm.
Ended up we went to 0 income overnight, 3 months pregnant. Was a partner with my husband's trucking business, and even though we had all the contracts in place, like, they broke the deal, nothing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hustle then, and we figured out, like, took a 50% income cut, we figured it out, but it was after my second son, Wyatt, was born. He
Hmm.
was in the NICU for 53 days. He had an undiagnosed birth defect, full-term baby. I
Yeah.
had done the work. We'd done the work to take care of our finances, that I was there when it really counted, which is what a lot of us say, like, we're doing these things for, like, so that we can be there for our loved ones when it really counted, and
Right.
I was there. But during that time, I felt like I failed my family because I
Hmm.
hadn't hit my income goal.
Yeah.
And that really didn't matter because we'd still achieved the goal. It just looked different.
Yeah.
And it was after that time coaching, working with several coaches myself, that I really became a money confidence coach. It took a little bit of path along the way, but really working on your confidence with your money and handling the emotions around money so that we can make the logical decisions and really see gratitude and where we're actually at without
Mhm.
this skewed lens.
Right. And what would you suggest? Because I know a lot of people, because I know you say your money confidence, right? So a lot of people live in that scarcity mindset. Like, what would you suggest as far as overcoming that scarcity mindset?
Absolutely. So, at a minimum, everyone should be writing down 10 things that they're grateful for every single day. And you can say, like, what does that have to do with money? Well, it really does. When we are thankful for the fact that we have a home, the fact that you have a heater, that you have a vehicle, you start to see the gratitude in the things that you already have. But
Mhm.
so often, even if we just focus on the gratitude, we're not celebrating ourselves. So, like, the second part of that is celebrating what you have accomplished. Because as an overachiever myself, like, we have a tendency to set a goal, and then you hit the goal, and then you set the next goal, and you never really stop and acknowledge how far you've come and what you have actually done. So when we start giving gratitude and then celebrating for what we've actually accomplished, you start to shift and see things that you actually already have. And then
Right.
the other portion of that is really working on our mindset. Like, why do we think these things? Our
Mhm.
money mindset's formed by about the age of 10. There's a little bit of discrepancy, like, with the experts, like, what the actual age is. But I don't know about you, I did not have life figured out by 10, and I was
Yeah.
raised by flawed humans. Like, it's
Mhm.
not gonna be perfect, right?
Yeah.
So there's these things that we learned, and there's these things that we've inherited that we have to learn to see clearly. So if our parents were telling us like, oh, we don't have money for that, we can't afford that, we can't afford that, like those are the tendencies that we go to.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
And on the flip side, you can also, maybe your parents made a lot of money, but they didn't have time for their relationships. You can
Mhm.
also tie in a thing like, I don't want to be wealthy because then I won't have time for my relationships. When in reality, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, but we're tying it together because that's what we saw. And then we got movies and media, and they do the exact same thing. I mean, Scrooge with Christmas, the perception there, we have to look at what actually is going on. So when we start with gratitude with where we're at, and then just be mindful of like what where these questions are coming from, or these thoughts are coming from, by
Mhm.
asking yourself questions, you can really start to see a difference.
And like, so on your journey, when you said that at one point you felt that you were a failure, how did you overcome that yourself?
Working with a coach. So
Okay.
my signature framework is called the Unstoppable Finances Framework. To be able to get to this place,
Mhm.
we don't we're not going to achieve a life without struggle. Like there's going to be something that comes up no matter what. And that's what my Unstoppable Finances Framework is about. It's like, what are you going to do when this stuff happens? When it hits the fan? Like what's going to happen then? And there's different aspects. And most often we focus either on one of two extremes. It's either what I call the defense, which is
Mhm.
our managing money, which is what a lot of people will think of. There's several financial gurus that, pay off your debt and budgeting and the frugal aspect. And most people are like, okay, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then we have the offense, which is making money. And we're just like, we just need to hit the next income goal and then everything's going to be fixed.
Mhm.
That's not really accurate as well because we're missing the other two pieces.
Okay.
The third one is our mindset, which we already kind of talked about. I call it the battlefield
Yeah.
because if we don't know like where we're at on the game, the rules of the game, how to actually play, like you can't win.
Mhm.
And then the fourth part is the coaching because you get there a heck of a lot faster when you have somebody to help you review the footage. So if it wasn't for one of the coaches that I had that we worked together for years,
Mhm.
um, I don't know that I would have seen that realization.
Mhm.
Definitely not as fast as I did, but
I'm sorry, your computer cut out. What was that?
oh no. I said that I don't know if I would have gotten to that realization without having that coaching support, but definitely not as fast as I did figure it out.
And then, so what were the other two parts that you were saying that were missing
We missed.
in
Okay.
that?
So we had the offense and the defense. And then the
Right.
battlefield was the money mindset. That's the rules of the game, economics, knowing why inflation is happening. That's all included there. And then the fourth and
Mhm.
final part was coaching, because even professional athletes have somebody help them review the footage so that you can get to where you want to go faster.
Right. I like that. So when when you have clients, what are they coming to you for? Is it just for the coaching? Or are they coming to just figure out their finances, how to get out of debt? What are they coming for?
Yeah, for a lot of us, it's kind of like figuring out the money thing is a, a generalized statement. We're
Mhm.
either working, spinning our wheels, trying to figure things out, and it's just not happening. We're feeling guilty about our debt, and we don't want to do that anymore. So we want to pay off the debt, but we also have to work on the mindset, and those things kind of overlap there. Or
Yeah.
it's like I'm avoiding my QuickBooks because I'm afraid of the numbers, or I'm not a numbers person. So we need to
Yeah.
work on that. And it's always like the tactical and the mindset portion together. So it kind of, most of us come for a tactical reason, but
Mhm.
it's that emotional feeling behind it. So, like, I'm not hitting my income goals. I just need to make more money, consistent cash flow, or the debt payoff, or the QuickBooks. Those are probably my top three. Where I
Yeah.
need to cut impulse spending.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And then, so how are you still in business with trucking as well?
Um, he, he is now employed like a contractor in trucking. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what else does your coaching consist of, should I say? When
Yeah.
is it like an ongoing process, or like what do they do?
Yeah. So my signature program is called Money Mastery Academy. So that's 12 weeks together that
Okay.
we're really like kind of think of it like boot camp style. We have all of these step-by-step guide there. We start with what I call the cash flow calculator. And
Mhm.
that is 12 simple questions to help figure out where you're already on track with your money because we've got a lot of the things figured out. We're doing a lot of the work. Often you're just a couple tweaks away. And then
Mhm.
we can use the calculator to help you see which spots inside the academy you need to start with. So we have all the step by step, like putting together the personal budgeting system that I created and recommend, the
Mhm.
business budgeting system. We talk about meal planning. We talk about time management. It's kind of like everything's included, but you have to figure out what you're going to work on first.
Yeah.
And then really, we never really arrive when it comes to our money. So there is, of course, options to continue to work with me ongoing because you can put the tactical stuff in place, but we have the ongoing work that we have to do. And then, of course, there's always the mindset work
Mhm.
as well.
So how did you overcome this, like becoming a money confidence coach when you were like, I wasn't that great at math and yet here you are now. How did this even come about?
Okay, so I was a manager at Taco Bell.
Uh-huh.
But, I was a very young single mom. My oldest was born a couple days before my 19th birthday. So
Mhm.
at the time, I was being groomed to run my own store. I was already in management, all those things. But I had to be able to work when my son was gonna be in daycare. So
Mhm.
I set out to find something else. I responded to a Craigslist ad for
Uh-huh.
somebody that was like a life insurance company. They said you can make your own hours. You know, the entrepreneur in me was like, yeah, like let's do this, right?
Yeah.
Um, that was a lie. I had to be in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays until 9 p.m.
Mhm.
Definitely not during daycare hours, but I was enjoying what I was doing. So I started walking into insurance offices. The first one that I walked in was like less than 3 miles from my house. And it was a perfect fit. They had put an ad out that day that they were looking for somebody. So it really started because I just needed to find something else. And then I
Mhm.
discovered how much I loved it and the numbers and cents of it portion at first with the insurance and the tactical.
Yeah.
And I just don't like algebra. Like I was good at basic math, but like algebra, like that's it. I'm gone. But of
Yeah.
course, now I'm homeschooling. So I'm either going to have to figure this out or like outsource that subject when we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So
But
what
yeah,
was it like mentally going through all of this entire journey? What was your mental state like?
that is one of the things that I'm really passionate about. I actually have an episode on my podcast that's coming out in a couple weeks.
Uh-huh.
And it's called The Day I Almost Quit
Uh-huh.
because I don't ever feel like we arrive. I feel like it's always a roller coaster of emotions. You are juggling so much as an entrepreneur, like running your business, you're responsible for so much. And then we get the money involved, and money's emotional as it is. Then, of course, like I said, overachiever, high achiever. I put extra external pressure on myself that's not even really there. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's always been a roller coaster. And I think it's going to be a roller coaster. There's definitely amazing highs and definitely amazing lows, very deep lows. And I think it's what you do when you go through those that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Um, Consistency for me has always been important and consistently showing up and doing the things that I need to because I do feel that I fill a void that isn't really filled elsewhere in the space. I'm not a profit coach. I'm not the frugal debt payoff. I don't the woo woo mindset. Like we talk about mindset, but I'm also like, you need the tactical strategies. There we go. I can speak. It's a little late in the day. um, but like knowing that like I'm filling that voice for somebody
Mhm.
and being there when other people need to hear that, that's part of like what helps me keep going when those tough days happen.
Yeah, and I like when you said that feeling like we haven't arrived. I had to write that down because I was just like, that's probably what I'm going to name this podcast because that is so true. Like, I think a lot of us are out there with that state of mind, feeling like we haven't arrived or feeling like we're never going to arrive.
Yeah. And that is one of the things people will come to me and it's like, okay, I just want to pay off debt or whatever. Like they're looking at this one specific issue. And it's like, that's fantastic. We will take care of this. But it is so much else. And your mindset and your money affects so many other things that like
Mhm.
we have to continue to work on this. And this was even like, to be transparent, a marketing thing, because I was like, you'll need me forever. And people are like, well, I don't want that. But
Yeah.
they have to come to that realization on their own that this is something that we are going to continue to work on. This isn't like building building a house or something like, okay, check, we're done. We have
Mhm.
to continue to work on this forever.
Yeah. So, and what is where you are now? What is your mental state like now, seeing how you're helping so many people?
I I feel like we're good, but I mean that day that I almost quit was like 10 days ago. So I'm big on being a real authentic. Like That that is like I'm being transparent, and
Yeah.
it was a total me thing. I put unrealistic expectations. I had a goal I wanted to hit. I
Uh,
sent an email out with like a no-brainer deal that I was like, I'm going to bring the sales in to hit this goal so that I can buy this product that I want. And it was silence, like just crickets. Nobody
yeah.
clicked, nobody bought, and it rocked me. And for
Uh-huh.
whatever reason, I had created this like picture of my success around this one specific offer, this one email
Right.
that went out on a Friday afternoon that who knows if people were checking their email anyways because we were
Yeah.
getting ready for the holidays. So, yes, today's a great day.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of what it was. So it's kind of like when we sometimes put all of our eggs in one basket. Is
Yes.
basically kind of what you went through.
That and it's also setting the expectation. Like I did the work. I had done
Mhm.
everything that I needed to. I had shown up for my audience. I've grown my audience. I gave them the offer.
Mhm.
There's nothing else that I can control
Yeah.
like with the results. So as long as I'm doing my part, like that's all I can control.
Yeah. So man, so you were close to quitting. You said like 10 days ago.
Yes.
But I love that. Like you said, this is that is being authentic. So I
Yeah.
like that. So, but now it's you're feeling better about that now,
Yes.
correct?
But yes, it was a one day thing. And I always tell people don't make decisions out of emotion. This is even like when you're shopping the sales, like 24-hour rule is what I call it. Like wait 24 hours before you make a decision. Whether
Yeah.
you're like ooh, that's on sale. I really want that. And this can be like out of hit that we want from that impulse buy, or you're emotional about something else. Like wait 24 hours to make the decision. And 24 hours later, like I was able to see things objectively because I had gotten out of that heat of the emotional moment. Now, most of the time I can step out of it faster, but for whatever reason, I had spiraled and it took me almost, well, not 24 hours, whatever, 12 hours until I went to sleep, before I could see things objectively. But we all have those moments of those emotional impulses. And it's
Hmm.
just how do you handle that? And then how fast you can snap back.
Right. And that's what I was gonna say. So what is your regimen? Like how do you handle that?
Yeah. So I love even just a simple breathing exercise.
Hmm.
Just I can never just do this and talk at the same time. So if you inhale for 8 seconds,
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds. You
Uh-huh.
focus on slowing down. Get outside, stand barefoot in the grass.
Yeah.
Even just being outside, going for a walk. I love to take a drive and listen to the music. Listen to music. It's not as feasible anymore with all the kids in the car all the time,
Yeah.
but like finding something that rejuvenates you. But walking away is the big thing because if you
Yeah.
sit there and you're just frustrated and you try to force through it, it's not going to do you any good. Of course, if
Yeah.
you've got a coach, like contact the coach if you got Voxer support or whatever it might be. But stepping out of the environment, the vitamin D, the fresh air is all great, but change your environment. Don't focus on it. Just walk away. But the second part is asking yourself how. Like, how can
Mhm.
this be possible?
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. So if it's something like you're trying to solve that income goal you're trying to hit, how could I hit my income goal? And then walk away because asking yourself that question, how, your
Hmm.
brain starts to try to solve it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what happens is like when we're looking for something, we're always just looking like, okay, I need to know how, and I'm looking and I'm waiting, and then that actually adds more resistance, and we don't realize that trying to just look for it to just come around the corner and I'm going to see it come doesn't, it just never comes, and then that frustrates us more, and then that's when we start spiraling down.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we overcome that? Like, what is like one of the biggest like things that you would recommend for our listeners?
Just stepping away. Like, seriously, it's such a big thing. Like, doesn't matter if you walk away completely, go watch something on Netflix, go make dinner. I guess you take a walk is the getting outside. Play with your kids if you have your kids. Clean something that, that's been on the to-do list for 50 days, whatever it might be. Like, that want something else that's completely different. Like, just step away from it and allowing yourself that space. Like, you'll come up with the answer, or you'll be able to see things objectively to be able to make the hard decisions that we often need to make.
Yeah. And what about, say, for instance, for the business owners, if their business isn't, doing what they thought it would, like, what's best for them? Because I know sometimes it's hard, or even for myself, to just step away for a day. It's like sometimes I feel like you got to step away for weeks because it's like I'm going to lose my mind because it's not going the way that I intended. When we create our own realities and it doesn't happen that way, then we end up in discouragement. So what way would you overcome that for business owners?
First, I want you to look at what you're actually doing. Not what you think you're doing, but the actions that you're taking. We're not worried about the results. So how many times are you making sales? Are we actually making the sales or offering the sales? Or are we just thinking about it? Or is it like a byproduct? A mentor of mine used to call this a mumble. So I'll be like, on the Academy coaching call the other day, just in conversation, that's a mumble. Because I didn't outright ask you to join the Academy. But if you were listening, you'd be like, oh, what's the Academy? So that's not a sales ask. So when are you actually doing those things? What are you doing to grow your audience? Are you posting on social media? That's not really a growth tactic. There's different things that we evaluate what we're actually doing, what's working. So what brought in the sales last 5 sales if you can. So how did they come to be in your world? How did they come to buy? And are we doing more of those things that actually work instead of like, oh, okay, so everybody says I have to point and dance on Instagram Reels, which I love Instagram Reels, but I know this is not a sales tactic for me. This is something that I do for fun and to nurture my audience. Right. We have to know the intent behind it. So looking at those things is the first part. We also have to look at what are we doing overall, because believe it or not, if you don't have a business money management system, you can self-sabotage, because if you hit your income goal, you don't know what you would do with the money when it came.
Right.
So having like those systems in place, looking what you're already doing. And I just lost my train of thought with the third one. Great. Okay, well, the first part was supposed to include about doing things like building your business in a way that works for you and not something that like just everybody tells you to do. Right. One of my first coaches was really great at the whole building rapport in the DMs. And that is not me at all. Yeah. So it wasn't working because it didn't align with me and where I'm at in my life and frankly, my personality.
Right.
Like I'm not going to just go cold, build a bunch of rapport, build relationships. Like that's just not happening.
Yeah.
But I was trying to do what my coach told me to do and it just was not working. And I was hitting my head up against the wall, but I didn't stop and look at like what I wanted my business to look like. Her kids were grown. She didn't have little kids at home that she had to be taking care of. So she had more time to be in Messenger having these conversations.
Right. Yeah.
And I think looking at your business objectively, we have to look at, okay, what are the things that we're doing? Are we doing the things that we need to see results? Are we growing our audience? Are we making the offers? Are we listening to like tweaking your messaging and whatever that might be, aligning with what people want? And then you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
They say most businesses fail within 5 years, but in reality, they don't fail. Most people quit within 5 years.
Yeah.
It only fails because like we walked away, we quit
Right.
trying.
Yeah.
So when it becomes a will until, it kind of makes a difference. But those overnight success stories are far more
Right.
um, scarce
Uh-huh.
than we're led to believe.
Absolutely. So what exactly do you do, since you don't do the posting, you don't do that, but you do have this wonderful 12-week program? How did you start all of that?
Yeah, I do. I do post on social media. I do all these things,
Okay.
but I know the intent. I know the intent behind it for me
Hmm.
is not to get more eyeballs
Okay.
on me. So this isn't what we would call like a growth strategy to get in front of more people.
Hmm.
That and like my email list and those things, my podcast even, I view it as a nurture because it's helping the people who are already in my sphere of influence
Yeah.
get to know me better, know like what they love about me, more about what I teach, all of those things.
Yeah.
And then just making offers consistently. I have come to realize that I don't love launching
Uh-huh.
at all. I set those unrealistic expectations. See, this is like my debrief from the
Yeah.
10 days ago. You get to benefit from this. So I have several like funnels in place. I have several like, hey, this is what's going on. We're doing this workshop. It's $27. We're going to work on this one specific thing
Hmm.
to help people see like, okay, this is what I am. We're solving one pain point, a quick pain point. They get to work with me. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to give you the invitation that we can continue to work together more. So I believe in having I have, let's say, three-ish offers. My low like tripwire action plan, $27. I host the regular workshops.
Hmm.
And then my academy is like my signature program. So I used to have a bunch of like evergreen courses, and I've kind of retired those because I know the thing that makes the difference, the thing that actually gets people results is working with me. So we're just going to do more of the things that get you the coaching aspect, which is my action plan, the low ticket workshops where we do like those quick 60 minutes together is that we work on one specific thing.
Yeah.
And then of course, like the academy. So um, I use a Facebook ad strategy
Hmm.
for growth, but the thing that I love about this specific ad strategy is it's not expensive.
Hmm.
It's very low cost, and I use videos, and it's Laurel Portier is the one that teaches the strategy.
Uh-huh.
But we use videos, so I'm talking about the key strategies that make me different. So one of the ones that's doing really well right now is guilt-free impulse spending in 5 simple steps.
Yeah.
So the video is out there, and if they watch the video, then they're part of what they call like our warm audience. So once you're in my realm and you know these things, like that's when I make the offers, and it's set up. I have 4 kids at home and all those things, and I build my business in a way that I can do it in cracks of time. So I automate a lot of those things, and that was probably a very long-winded answer.
Uh-huh. No, you're completely fine. But my goodness, that is just like so much. You are an incredible woman. Like, it's
Thank
definitely
you.
empowering, because you said you have 4 children, you're doing
Mhm.
this business, you have all these different things, and you still make time for your clients. Like, that's a lot. That is a lot. Just how do you handle just being in your everyday life with all of this on your shoulders?
Yeah, I actually created my own time management and productivity system because I get that question all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage your time? And I think a lot of it is about prioritizing. So, setting the intention of what you're going to get done the night before and knowing what you need to get done.
Yeah.
Whether that's we have a routine. I don't like schedules, but I like
Mhm.
routines. So we have, our morning routine of when we need to get done. We have schoolwork routines that vary throughout the week because we're recording on a Thursday, and
Mhm.
Thursdays are my heavy work day. And to be transparent, my middle 2 didn't get schoolwork done today. My
Uh-huh.
oldest did his independent work, but I haven't checked it. But we
Yeah.
build our week on a 4-day work week. So I
Mhm.
know tomorrow I can do all those things that I didn't get done today because I chose to spend the extra time working today.
Right. Right. I
So
completely
building in
understand.
building in rest and knowing what you need to work on, I feel like are my two most important things.
Yeah.
And again, asking yourself how it's possible. I build those building your schedule. This year has been of a bit of an adjustment because I
Mhm.
have a sixth grader, first grader, kindergarten, and a 1-year-old. So
Yeah.
we're working on learning how to read. The middle two need more of my attention. The baby wants to be involved in everything because she's the
Uh-huh.
typical fourth child. I can keep up with everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and we struggled for the first several weeks trying to figure out, like, okay, how can we navigate this? And I sat down and I was like, okay, how can this be possible again? It seems so silly, but like really, I sat down 15 minutes. I drew out like, okay, in an ideal world, like this is what the routine, the schedule could look like. Building in flex hours for like, okay, if this goes long, then I need an extra hour here before we start our dinner time. And everything seems so much more feasible. So if you're like, I can't get everything done, just build an ideal, like what would your ideal week look like?
Mhm. Yeah. I like that a lot. So, did you like my thing is what I don't know. I guess what is like the number one thing that you tell majority of your clients?
Money is actually really simple. We just overcomplicate it.
That is true. I've heard that so many times. And it's just like to grasp that concept is almost sometimes impossible. You're just like,
Mhm.
"What?
Because
How?"
we have all of these emotions around money and we try and
Yeah.
look at it as this logical thing, but it's
Mhm.
really not logical. I mean, it is logical, but we don't make it logical because we have all the emotions around it. So when
Yeah.
we sit there and figure out the emotions, and then it's simple. So it's like, why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
So, like, if I just have to get out of my debt because there's so much debt and like there's something wrong with me because I have all of this debt, like, well, why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
And often it's because of some random thing that we were told or some society expectation that's not
Mhm.
even true.
Yeah.
And it's actually really much simpler than that. But we get caught up in our head with our emotions and those instant thoughts that we have.
Yeah. I agree with that. And for all the listeners, how would they get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So I love to hang out on Instagram. I'm at Aimee Cerka. I'm sure we'll put that in the show notes
Show
as
notes.
well.
Yes.
I have the cash flow calculator that I talked about. I have a way to share access for anybody who is a business owner that like wants to check that out. Should I share that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So again, the cash flow calculator is the first thing that I have you do inside the academy, and it helps you see where you're already like on track to making consistent cash flow and where you might need a couple tweaks. You can grab that at aimeecirca.com/cash flow.
Hmm.
And in there, like I mentioned, the fourth and final part is coaching, right? So in there is a way for me to give you feedback on what you would work on next, or what I would recommend you would work on next if you were inside the academy.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot because I might be using that myself. So I will
Oh,
definitely be visiting that website.
and you don't need numbers. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. It's 12, it's called a calculator, but it's
Mhm.
just 12 simple assessment style questions. So you don't have to have like your numbers in front of you. It'll take 90 seconds.
Okay. All right. That is good to go. That is good to know. And did you have anything else to add for our listeners?
I guess I always have my own podcast, Your Money, Your Life, and I'd love for you to come take a listen to mine as well.
Your money, your life on your new on your podcast. But you said that there's another one coming. What was the name of that one? I think you said the day I wanted to quit, or I thought I wanted to quit.
Oh, that's an episode. It hasn't been released yet.
Oh,
That's
okay, okay,
coming out, I think it's the 12th.
okay,
December 12th, I think, is when that episode is dropping. I
okay. And
recorded
what
it
was the name?
earlier today.
And what was the name of your podcast again?
Your Money, Your Life.
Okay. And yes, that'll be listed in the show notes again as well. So thank you so much for coming on today, Aimee.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Robin.
No problem. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing Podcast. Stay blessed.